this is what the weather looks like outside. As you can see, visibility is very low. Temperature is around -10 degrees Celsius. It's not that cold, but there is a 30 km/h wind, so we are in fact in a snowstorm. Now you might be thinking, there's no way I'm gonna go out there and take photos. But you would be wrong, because ladies and gentlemen, the show must go on, and it's time for the Pentax. Pentax cameras are weather sealed and resilient, and this Pentax K5 II is no exception. So put the kettle on and get your coffee, get your hot chocolate or tea, and enjoy as we go out into the snowstorm and attempt to do some photography. After we take a look at the photos, we'll wrap up the video with some initial thoughts about the Pentax K5 II. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that little compilation. It was a lot of fun shooting this camera in a snowstorm, and I must say the camera delivered. The camera was constantly getting blasted with snow, and it was very hard to move around. You know how they say zoom with your feet? That wasn't really possible in this blizzard. Nevertheless, I got a bunch of photos I'm happy with. It actually died once in the middle of the shoot. I think it just got really cold. Maybe it was hit with some snow. All I did was go back indoors, take the battery out, put it back in, and it was working just like new. Weather resistance is a Pentax specialty, but it's important to note that weather resistance is not a binary thing. There are certainly levels of it, and this camera, because I bought it used on eBay, as you can see, it has already taken some damage. So I think I'm pretty lucky. Looks like there's a bit of a blotchy situation here. I have a feeling this camera took on water damage, although the seller said it was in like new condition. So that's always a risk buying on eBay. That's my fault, not asking specific questions before purchasing. Now I was using this camera with the 18 to 135 millimeter 3.5 to 5.6 DCWR lens. We'll talk about this one in just a second. All the controls are smartly laid out, clearly designed by photographers. Everything you might need is right here. Very simple menus. Everything always available. You don't have to scroll down. The time to write a file to the camera was greatly improved when I turned off a bunch of this high ISO noise reduction, slow shutter speed noise reduction, and in the dynamic range turned off highlight correction, shadow correction, basically turned off all this post-processing because I was going to deal with the RAWs in Lightroom anyway. So that really helped. And one annoyance with this camera is, because I'm so used to back button focusing, this button cannot be set to back button focusing. You have to set this button to back button focusing, and this is a little weird because it's kind of in the middle as opposed to near the top where I'm used to on my other cameras. That's just something to get used to. This RAW FX button here can also be customized. I have it customized to the electronic level, which is really handy. The camera also has live view, if you're into that kind of thing. The two settings I was mostly messing with were exposure compensation, because I was shooting in snowy conditions. Often the metering of any camera gets fooled by snow on the ground. And I was also adjusting the ISO, trying to keep it as close to 100 base ISO as often as I could. Other than that, I was shooting in AV aperture priority, and that's about it. As far as the lens goes, if you spend time on photography forums, you might think all zooms are horrible, but actually this zoom was quite decent. I did notice it was a little softer at the longest end, 135. People on the internet seem to think that it performs best from around 24 to 100. The lens is very basic. There's really not much on here. There's not even an autofocus, manual focus switch. There's no aperture ring. There's just a zoom ring, and then a focusing ring here, which you can use to override the autofocus, which I ended up never using. Okay, the main draw of this lens is its extreme range of 18 to 135. And remember, this is a crop sensor camera. And the fact that it's weather resistant. This thing was being blasted with snow, and it performed wonderfully. It was a great lens. I mostly used it around f8 to f11. I definitely recommend the Pentax K5 II series. The K5 IIs, not the one I have, the 2S actually removes the anti-aliasing filter, which leads to sharper photos but with greater chance of moire. But since I got a great deal on this K5 Mark II, that's the one I went with. I have looked around at different reviews, and I think overall, pound for pound, considering how cheap this lens is and this camera is on the used market, I don't think there's better value for an all-around, environmentally sealed, all-weather, do-everything Pentax package. Well guys, thank you for watching this video. Stay warm out there and subscribe for more.